Good morning, students. I am out because of doctor's appointment that my daughter has, and you guys are going to move through your day by watching this video. The first thing you're going to do for your do now is you're going to look at the picture down below. This should be found in your writing journal. It will be at the end of your writing journal. I've slipped it in. Everything you need will be in your writing journal. So the do now question says, look at the picture below. Describe what is happening in the scene. What is going on inside the girl's head? What is she thinking about? Insert a text box to answer. And I'm going to edit this to include, to get full credit, you need at least 4 sentences. So I'm going to have you go ahead and pause the video and complete the do now, which is to complete the response. Now, there's no right or wrong answer. You're just coming up with something creatively. Why do you think her face looks the way it does? Why do you think she's holding that closely to her body? Is there anything going on with the children around her? What is she thinking? There's no right or wrong answer. You're being creative. This is writing class, and we're talking about telling stories. So tell me a story about the picture. Now that you've completed your do now, you're going to move on to the main event of the work you're doing today. Also found in your journal, you will see this sheet that says my character. Who are they? The last time that we met and over the weekend, you completed and submitted this character story frame where you pinpointed your character, the main ideas, like the big points about your character, the setting, the problem, and the solution. Well, now we're going to really get into your main character. Now, if you find that the screen is too small, and again, you can find this in your journal right under your do now. And if you're finding it's too small, then simply go to the magnifying glass. I like to go to zoom in, and then it makes it a little bit bigger. Now, yours is not, you cannot edit yours. I saved this as the background, so you will always have to add text boxes to your document. Now, my main character's name is Larissa. Larissa is a young Filipino girl. She's age 13. I don't have any names on there. I should say that. I should say age and such. Her hair color and style. She has dark brown hair. There's a little bit of wave. It's just below her shoulders. No layers. Her eye color is brown. Her skin color is caramel. Distinguishing features. My character has a small birthmark on her left temple. So somewhere right about here, she's got like it's bigger than a freckle. It's not a mole. It's not super raised. It's just a brown patch right above her left temple. That's her birthmark. Now, mannerisms. My character tends to roll her eyes and look off to the left. She might purse her lips like a duck. She might smack her lips a little bit. So roll eyes, look left. Mannerisms are the little movements that you do without even thinking about it. Some people twirl their hair, some people fidget. I'm a fidgeter. I'm always fidgeting with my fingers. If I've got keys in my hand, I might click something. Those are mannerisms, things that make a person uniquely themselves, little things that they do. They might crack their knuckles, or they might turn their, crack their neck, or those are mannerisms. They might talk with their hands. I use bright facial expressions and I talk with my hands a lot. Those are mannerisms that make me uniquely me. Miss Hoffman, you may know, she has a pretty mellow effect. She doesn't use a lot of big facial expressions. She doesn't move around a lot. She doesn't talk with her hands. She's not super duper animated. She has a very quiet, calm demeanor. Those are her mannerisms. Larissa's typical outfit is a graphic tee, ripped jeans, jeans, maybe Vans for sneakers. Kind of a grungy look, but not dirty, just a kind of an edgy grunge type of look. That's what she would typically wear. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't pinned down the hopes, fears, or pet peeves. Larissa is annoyed. A pet peeve is something that annoys you. So she's annoyed by people chewing without closing their mouth. I'm annoyed by this as well. She hopes to go to a good college and make her mom proud. But she doesn't quite know. She's only 13, so she doesn't quite know like She hasn't pinpointed what she wants to do just yet. Fears is her mom losing the restaurant. Now, you might in your head be like, man, you really know your character well. That's absolutely true. I know my character very well. I'm getting to know her. I am building her and creating her in my mind. And that is what you are going to do today. We are taking the next step to really digging deep and understanding our character. We have to really understand our characters in order to write them well and believably in our stories. If we don't know them inside and out, then our story is going to be kind of lackluster and not as good as it could be. Now, when we read the character Sarah, we learned lots of little tidbits about her. We knew she liked Taylor Swift and Shaun White. We knew she wanted to be older. We didn't know exactly what she looked like, and there was very little description. And you might not end up describing your character in your story, but you have to get to know them. Now, when you have completed this part, you will be ready to move on to the visual of your character. I have included in your slides, I've included a body frame for a girl and for a boy. Now, if you want your character to be non-binary, you can choose whichever one you want. Whichever one you're not going to use, then I would have you delete. So if I was like, my main character is a girl, I don't need the boy form, I'm going to delete it um, right out of my slides. Now, what you are going to do is you are going to now research images that show this character. And I'm going to show you how to do several things. And you might need to pause the video in order to see how to do those things. And if you need to do that or you need to rewind it, then please do so. I'm giving you all the tools you need to be successful for this activity. So you're going to go and you're going to search for the parts that you need. Now, I've already described to you what Larissa looks like, and I've already taken the time to find the pieces. And I have pieced together this character. I'm going to zoom out so you can see her totally. So I have chosen a girl who looks like what I think Larissa looks like. I searched Filipino. She's Filipino. I searched Filipino teen. And I chose a picture that I thought captured her. She's kind of got that edgy necklace. Then I searched graphic tees. And I found the graphic tee that captured who I felt she looks like. Another way you can zoom in is if you grab the magnifying glass, click on it, and you can zoom right in, or you can zoom out. Now, the graphic tee she's not like a girly girl. So there isn't going to be like pink and rainbows and sparkles and things like that on it. She's going to have a little bit of an edgy kind of grungy feel to it. So she's got this, retro throwback kind of shirt. And then we've got the ripped jeans, the Vans. These aren't exactly Vans, but like skater shoe. And then she's got this backpack. Now this backpack looks like it could either cost $1,000 or they got it at Salvation Army. Like she's edgy and cool, but in a like secondhand thrift store kind of way. And that's who she is. And that's what she is about. She is definitely about rehabbing things and doing things over and doing like thrift store refines and things like that. Now, the way I did a lot of this, let me show you some tools. All right, so let's say I needed to change her eye color and I wanted to have her have green eyes. I would go to Google and I would do green eyes. And I would type that in and I would look, I'll go, oh, look at that. And I go to images. And I would recommend that you go to Google and do it this way. All right, so let's say I want to use this lady's eyes. Ooh, her eyes are really what I think Larissa looks like. I'm gonna right click it and I'm gonna say copy image. And then I'm gonna bring it back here and I'm gonna right click and do paste. Now it's way too big, obviously, and there's too much information. There's too much going on. I just need the eyes. So how to crop this simply in your Chromebook? Double click it with a left click. Up pops these boxes, these black lines, and you can crop right there on your document. Now, if you happen to catch this little blue thing and you move it, it's going to move the whole thing. That's okay. Just undo the action. Now we've got this. It's way too big. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it smaller. I got to make sure to get the corner so it reduces equally. And then I'm going to pop them in. So let's say Larissa had green eyes. I would put it in there and I would patch them in. Okay. Now let's say you're trying to get a hoodie and then a face on top of it. You can bring things forward and back with the order command. So Let's say I wanted to bring her face forward and there was a hoodie or something. So I would bring her to the front. Now the eyes went away, but they're not gone. They're just behind that. So you can layer a bunch of different things. You could layer a face with hair and eyes, and like you could do lots of different layers. But I want the eyes. So I'm going to send it to the back. Oops. I'm going to undo that. I didn't want to send it to the back. I want to send it backwards so it goes back one layer instead of all the way to the back. Because on my form, I can move the pieces. Yours is going to be a picture, so you can't move that body. Now, if the body gets in the way of you building your character, you can insert a blank slide and do it that way, and that would be fine. Oops. I am going to move this, send backwards. So it's just going back one layer. And so I've got the face I want, the eyes I want, the shirt, it matches up with the shirt. Okay, so that's a simple way that you can crop and move things. You can layer things, sending things forward and sending things back. They don't go away. You just have to order how you want them. And again, you're going to right click it and you go to order. You want to bring it forward. When you say bring to the front, it's the first thing. If you say bring to the back, it's the very back thing. If you want to just bring it up one layer, like if you've got 3 different layers going on, you could bring it up just one or back just one. All right, that's a little bit sophisticated. And you can put your character's name right there. Okay, so I want you to build the character with the words on this worksheet. You may do 7 out of the 9 boxes. So if you look, there's 9 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You do 7 of the 9. You can do all 9, but if you get stumped on 2 of them, you can let 2 go and it will still count for full credit. Then you are going to go and build what your character would look like on the average day. The last thing in my classes yesterday, the last thing was for homework, but some people who worked quickly got this done quickly. Now I'm going to pause this for a minute and then we're going to talk about backstory. And I'm going to share my own personal backstory. And there's going to be a swear word, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time, but it needs to be in there in order to understand. But I'm going to pause as my throat is feeling a bit dry. I'll be right back with you. All right, welcome back. We are going to section 3, the backstory. All right, something that is super, super important for you when you are building a character is to build the backstory of the character. Now, the backstory is the stuff about the character that happened before the story is taking place. So if you're watching a movie about a character who's 9 years old, the backstory is all the stuff that happened from 1 to 8 or 1 to 9 until that day happened. And all the things that happen in our life influence who we are and how we behave. So it's super important that you know your own characters and you build your own character's backstory. What is she about? What is he about? Who is in his or her life? What is happening? Now, I'm going to tell you a real story. This is honest to goodness, a real story about me when I was 10 years old. And this is where I'm going to use a swear, and you will understand why I need to use the swear word. When I was 10 years old, my mom was a single mom. She was working very, very hard to provide for us. I got into a program called PAT. And at this point, I don't even know what PAT stood for, but it had to do with science. And everybody wanted to be in PAT, and they only accepted so many students per semester or per school year. And I got in. And my mom, who was working her tail off, was so proud of me that I had gotten into this club, this group, whatever it was. She rearranged her schedule so that she could make drop off and pick up happen so that I could partake in this activity called PAT. I was so excited to be in it, and I was so excited how proud she was. One day, midway through the year, the teacher, his name was Mr. Pressure. He was kind of a cranky old codger of a teacher. He wore blue. I remember that particular day he had on blue, like leisure suit, men's wear pants, and a brown belt, and he had on a kind of a um, it was an off-white shirt that had tiny little brown stripes, and he had a brown diagonally striped tie. And you'll realize in a minute why I know every detail. He had like no hair on the top, but he had that side hair kind of growing out, like the one little island up here. And he had this kind of thin, crinkly white, not really a beard, but like a goatee that was kind of like stuck down a little bit, but it was kind of sad. And he pulled me into the custodian's closet where the custodian kept their supplies. And he said to me, Jessica, you're bitchy and the other kids don't like you. And now you can imagine I'm 10 years old standing in this broom closet and I'm like elated that I'm part of this club and this is what the teacher said to me. And pretty sure I stopped going not too long after. I never told anybody. It was completely inappropriate for him to say that to me. I think he meant it well. I think he was trying to help me. And I know that sounds really weird, but let me give you an example. My daughter is 7 and she has a very big personality. And she often, when she's playing with other students or when she's playing with other kids, will be like, no, 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 do it this way, blah, blah, blah. She has big ideas and she always wants everybody to do her ideas. It can be off putting at times. And so I try to help her, like, you can't quite overtake a situation or else nobody's going to want to play with you. And, but I don't say those words to her because I know how those words felt to me. So I try to say it in a way that's more positive. So what my 10-year-old brain latched onto is nobody likes you. And so I grew up from that point forward feeling extremely insecure. And the way my insecurity manifested was two ways. I either tried to prove how much I knew so that people would like me or respect me or think I was cool because I knew so much stuff. But when you're a person who's always trying to tell other people how much they know, then they stop liking you because you're like a know-it-all and nobody likes that. Or I would be super, super quiet and not speak to anybody, which then people made the mistake of thinking of me as being, oh, she's stuck up. She doesn't want to talk to anybody. When really both of those were just me being super insecure because the voice in my head said nobody likes you. And it affected me for years and years and years. And that was my backstory. So if you didn't know that about me, you would judge me and you would look at me a certain way and assume you thought you knew me. Right. Well, that's kind of the same as we need to know our characters so well that we can write them with those personality flaws without thinking about it. We need to subtly put them in there. Okay. So for example, in Sarah the Brave, the main character, she says, with work, mom didn't seem to have a lot of time for Sarah anymore. The word anymore tells me she used to have time for her, but she doesn't now. So there's a story there. There's a whole nother backstory that we don't know about, but this author knew Sarah so well. The writer of the story knew her character so well. She added just enough to clue us into stuff that was going on behind the scenes. Now she left it open for interpretation. We don't know what those things are that are happening. But there's enough to know there's something going on in the background that's making things tense between her and her mother. My character, Larissa, and I don't want those eyes because she has brown eyes. My character, Larissa, her dad, I can't decide if he is left or if he has passed away. They had a successful restaurant in San Francisco and they lived in San Francisco. Now, if you've ever been to the East Coast or to the West Coast, you know San Francisco is extremely expensive. And since the dad is no longer around, Larissa and her mom had to move to a new city, but they still have the restaurant. So they have enough to pay for the mortgage and the rent for the restaurant, but they don't have extra to pay for an expensive city apartment. So they moved to a town called Bay Point. Now, I have lived in Bay Point in my real life, so I know Bay Point well. And this is where people tend to write about things they know well. I've lived in Bay Point. It's affectionately called Gunpoint. It's not a nice place to live. It's a lower cost type place to live because of the reputation and what's out there. But there is a BART station there, and BART stands for Bay Area Rapid Transit. So like a tram, the subway, if you will, goes all the way out to Bay Point, and the stops along are in the more affluent or more expensive areas. So Larissa and her mom have moved to Bay Point. So Larissa's now enrolled in Bay Point Junior High or Bay Point Middle School. And I'm not quite sure if the conflict is going to be that she's embarrassed about this situation. And so she hides the fact that she travels all the way to work because Larissa has to work at her mom's restaurant. She has to help out, wash dishes and move things and set things up and get things ready. So they make the hour-long commute to the city to do to work at the restaurant. I'm not sure if I wanna make it so that her new classmates either think she's stuck up because they have a fancy restaurant in the city, or if her or she's trying to hide it, like she doesn't want people to know. And I haven't developed that yet. And there might be parts of your story that you haven't developed yet either, and that is okay. But that's the backstory I would tell. You know, Larissa's dad left or he died, I haven't decided. And now it's saddled mom with the bills for the restaurant. They've moved to a new city, and she's kind of embarrassed about either there's something going on, but that's the backstory of what's happening, excuse me, in the background of Larissa's life. And now when I write the actual story of in the moment where a classmate either confronts her or sees her at the restaurant or something's going to happen, um, I have that background knowledge so I can input little details without having to explain all of that. Because a lot of times students will explain the backstory when really we just need little hints. But you have to know your backstory in order to put the hints in there. Okay. So your task, and this is mostly homework unless you get done with your other two tasks ahead of time. Your task for homework that's due next class, which would be on Thursday, is to build the backstory, describe the backstory. And again, you're going to have to do a text box because I make it so that you guys can't edit. Um, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to build the story. If you have any questions, then you're going to rewatch this. You're going to go to the parts that you need, or you're going to message me on Schoology. I hope you have a great class, and I can't wait to be back with you guys on Thursday.